Hello, thank you for tuning in for my short little video here. I'm Danette with Wildwoods Wellness. Some of you may know me from my previous business, Violet Flame Holistic Healing. I just want to talk a little bit today about transformation and change, which in itself has led me from the transition of Violet Flame to Wildwoods Wellness. Transformation and change is all around us. It happens to us whether we want it or not, whether we invite it in or we completely resist it. Change can be very hard. It can be something that we do resist and we do push against, but we can't stop it from happening no matter how hard we try. The other side of that is we can dream of transformation and we can dream of change. However, we can be so controlling and so limited and attached to our stories and our expectations that we don't allow the change or the transformation to happen because we've created a very specific way and container that we expect it to happen in. So transformation and change to me is really about letting go and opening up. And this is something that I have done in my own personal journey. I feel that I'm a living embodiment of transformation. If you were to know me 5 to 10 years ago, I am an entirely different person now. I physically look different. I have met myself on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. And this is what transformation and change is ultimately going to require of us. So if we want to embody a different way of life and a different way of being, we're going to have to dig deep into some areas that maybe we're resisting and don't want to go into. There was a time where by, certain standards, people could look at me and say that I had the perfect life. I was married with 2 kids. I had a beautiful home. It was a big home. I had a great job. I could bring in this money to fill this beautiful home of all these material things. I was working towards the next thing to purchase, the next thing to buy. And the reality was I was very empty inside. I was unhappy. I was toxic. And I had created this life that was toxic. And so I, through a journey, got pushed to make a change, and I was very resistant to it. I knew that change was needed. I would cry myself to sleep wishing for transformation and wishing for change, but I was absolutely resistant to doing it and to making that change and to actually take the action. And so I had an incident happen that really was my breaking point. And in that moment, I let go of everything. And that's what we need to do. If you want the change, if you want the transformation, you're going to have to let go. And it's so hard because this is where all our fears come in. This is where all our traumas come in. Everything that we've carried around our entire lives start to pour in as soon as we want to open up and let go. But the more we can do this and find the space for this, I assure you the easier it comes. And I walked in and I let go. I let go of my marriage. I let go of my home. I moved out with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old with no plan. I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what life was going to look like, but I knew that I had to do it, and I knew that I had to walk away from it. I then quit a job. I became an entrepreneur and started my own business. And I ended up stepping into this arena of holistic healing and energy work on a professional level. And even a year prior to all of this happening, I would have never guessed that that was the path I was going to go down. But all I had to do was open up and let go and allow the change and the transformation to take place and just see what was going to come into form. And I started to trust that the next step was going to just show up for me and that I was just going to know what to do next and I was going to be guided. And I also learned to trust that if I took a misstep, if I read something wrong, if I got caught up in my fear and my control and I took myself in a direction that wasn't meant for me, it was okay. I didn't have to beat myself up. I didn't have to judge. I wasn't stuck anywhere. I just had to pull myself back and change my direction. I just had to course correct. And through this process, all my relationships changed. I lost friends. I had family that was once important to me become not even a part of my life anymore. But the beauty of that was that the other people that I needed to have around me and I needed to have support me that I didn't even know at the time came in. And I developed beautiful, meaningful relationships and created a space of support and encouragement that I needed in order to go through these transformations and these changes. And this is something that's important for anyone who wants to walk this path. You cannot do it alone. You solely are responsible for your work and what you need to do on the inside, but you can't do that alone. You have to build a support network of people who can give you the tools, who can cheer you on, who can call you on your shit. These are all things that you're going to have to create if you want to walk this path. And so as I came through and I moved back to Creston and I started Wild Woods, all the changes and all the transformation, it's just an ongoing cycle. It's an ongoing spiral. And it's come to a point where it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And the trust and the faith that I have is something that I never imagined that I would get to. And it's not to say that I don't still have fears or doubts, but they don't control me and they don't lead my life. They're little voices that I hear back here, and they're helpful because they get me to check in. Is there something I'm not seeing? Is there something I'm forgetting? Is there an avenue I haven't explored? So they still have a purpose, but at the end of the day, they don't control me. And I learned how to let go of expectations. I learned how to let go of a need to control, a need to create a story, a need to feel like I had to plan out all of the 10 or 20 next steps, because it never happens the way that we think it does. And the universe, spirit, God, whatever that thing outside of you that's bigger than you, whatever you want to call that, has a plan sometimes, most of the time, that is much more expensive than anything we can see. And sometimes it can take a year for things to unfold. When I've moved back to Creston, I didn't even know why. And it has taken, this year I'll be here for 3 years. It took almost 2 years for me to start to see why I even had to come back to Creston. But there was something in me that I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. And most recently, I've went through another cycle and I've quit a job that I was helping getting me through COVID times. But I could feel that need. It was time to let go. I'm going into Wild Woods. I'm building this business. And so I know that I had to let go in order to create space. I don't have anything necessarily to fill that space right now. And that's okay, because I know that now that the space is there, the universe can provide me with what needs to come in and what needs to be there. The other thing that I've recently done is I pulled my kids from school. And I'm a single mom. I'm starting a business. I'm running a business. And I pulled my kids from school so that I can homeschool them. It sounds absolutely crazy. There's a part of me that thought, what are you doing? But again, I knew in my core, to the core of my being, that this was something that I needed to do. And I had to trust that in taking the action that I'm being guided to do, it's going to unfold for me in a way that I can't see right now. And that's okay. You have to learn to trust your inner guidance. So as you learn to go through change, and as you learn to ride through these waves of transformation, you have to be willing to let go. You have to be willing to release your expectations and your need to control. You need to be willing to open up, and you have to start finding the ways, finding the tools and the practices that are going to bring you in here. People look at me and think, she's out of her mind. And you know what? They're right. You have to get out of your mind. This right here, it has very valuable purpose in your life, but it can't control you. Your mind is not going to show you the way. Your heart and your soul, your center and your core, that is how you're going to find your way. Your outer world is never going to change until you come in here. The revolution starts inside of you. So this is my invitation to you. When you want transformation and you want change, how are you approaching it? Are you controlling? Are you attached? Are you attached to a way of life? Are you attached to your beliefs? Are you attached to material objects? Because that's your first step. You need to let go. You have to be willing to take risk. You have to be willing to accept there's possibility out there that you can't see right now. You have to have faith that you are going to be provided for. You need to face your fears. You need to face your traumas. You need to go into your shadows, face your lack mentality, your scarcity mentality, face the beliefs, find the beliefs that aren't even yours, that you are living by. We all have beliefs and stories that have been handed down to us from our family, our schools, our religions, everything in our lives. You have to start dissecting this stuff and figuring out what is yours and be willing to let go of the rest. And that's where the cycle of change and true transformation really starts. So that's my short little video. I'm trying to keep these about 10 to 15 minutes long. I'm going to set the intention to do more videos and talk on topics. So you can find me at wildwoodswellness.ca. You can follow me on Facebook at Wildwoods Wellness or on Instagram at Wildwoods Wellness Canada. And I hope that you will join me for other videos. And if there's subjects you want me to talk on, just drop me a comment and let me know. Thank you. Keep shining your light into the world. Much love.